Listen here, you ghetto trash. First class isn't for food stamp bitches like you. Rebecca Sterling's venomous snarl cuts through gate 27 like a blade. Without warning, her polished heel slams into Victoria Hayes's designer suitcase, sending black leather exploding across the terminal floor. Victoria freezes. Her black blazer wrinkles as she stares at her scattered belongings. Around them, passengers gasp and reach for phones. Rebecca towers over the mess, blonde hair gleaming under fluorescent lights. Her airline badge catches the glare as she crosses her arms, satisfaction spreading across her face like poison. Maybe next time you'll know your place, Rebecca hisses. Victoria's dark eyes remain steady. No tears, no screaming, just quiet dignity as she kneels to collect her things while strangers watch in horror. This flight attendant just made the biggest mistake of her career. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport pulses with Tuesday morning energy. Terminal C stretches endlessly, filled with the steady hum of rolling luggage and gate announcements. Business travelers clutch steaming coffee cups while checking phones for last-minute emails. Flight 1847 to Seattle sits at Gate 27, its silver body gleaming under morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. The Boeing 737 represents millions in corporate partnerships, though most passengers see only another metal tube to carry them across the country. Victoria Hayes moves through this world like she belongs. Her Louboutin heels click confidently across polished marble as she approaches the premium check-in counter. The agent's face brightens with recognition. "Good morning, Miss Hayes. Your usual seat in 2A is ready." Victoria nods graciously, sliding her platinum card across the counter. Her movements are measured, professional. At 38, she carries herself with the quiet authority that comes from boardroom victories and corporate battles won. Behind designer glasses, her eyes scan merger documents on her tablet. Hayes Aerospace Solutions has spent 3 years positioning for this moment. Today's board meeting in Seattle will announce the $500 million partnership that will revolutionize aircraft safety systems. Her phone buzzes constantly. "Victoria, the Times wants a comment on the merger." "Miss Hayes, when can we schedule the investor call?" Each message represents millions in market value, hundreds of jobs, technological advances that will save lives. She silences the device and focuses on the gate area. Years of business travel have taught her to observe, to read people and situations. The skill that built her empire now scans for potential disruptions to her carefully planned schedule. Across the terminal, Rebecca Sterling adjusts her airline uniform for the 3rd time. 8 years of service have hardened her features into permanent disapproval. Her blonde hair, pulled severely back, frames a face that rarely smiles genuinely. Rebecca watches the first-class boarding area like a guard protecting treasure. In her mind, premium seats belong to certain people, the right people. People who look like her, talk like her, come from her world. She's attended diversity training sessions 6 times. Each mandatory hour felt like punishment, listening to corporate lectures about unconscious bias and inclusive service. The written warnings in her file mean nothing to her. Rules are for other people. Her phone displays social media posts she shares only with close friends, memes about those people taking what they don't deserve, comments about merit and earned success, digital evidence of beliefs she's careful to hide at work. Captain Martinez reviews his flight manifest in the cockpit. 23 years of flying have taught him to spot trouble before it starts. His diverse crew reflects modern aviation, but he knows prejudice still lurks in unexpected places. Sarah Lane, the junior flight attendant, organizes passenger service items with nervous energy. This is only her 2nd month on the job, and she's already learned to navigate Rebecca's moods. The casual racist comments disguised as jokes, the deliberate poor service to certain passengers. Sarah wants to speak up, but she needs this job. Student loans and family obligations keep her silent when she should be brave. The first-class cabin gleams with leather seats and polished fixtures. Each detail costs extra, from the wider armrests to the premium meal service. Rebecca considers herself the guardian of this exclusive space. She's memorized passenger names and profiles, making instant judgments about who belongs. Mr. Thompson, the white investment banker in 1B, receives warm smiles and extra attention. The elderly Korean couple in row 3 get suspicious glances and minimal service. Today's manifest includes someone named Victoria Hayes in 2A. Rebecca assumes it's another diversity hire or scholarship case. Someone who stumbled into money they didn't earn. The boarding announcement crackles through terminal speakers. We now welcome our premium passengers for Flight 1847 to Seattle. Victoria closes her tablet and stands gracefully. Her briefcase contains presentations that will reshape the industry, but she carries it like any other business traveler. Success hasn't made her arrogant, just confident. She approaches the gate agent with a genuine smile. Years of climbing corporate ladders have taught her that kindness opens more doors than demands. Behind her, other first-class passengers queue politely. They represent America's business elite, tech executives, oil company presidents, pharmaceutical researchers, a cross-section of power and influence heading to Seattle for various corporate purposes. Rebecca watches Victoria approach and her expression hardens. Everything about this woman triggers her prejudices. The expensive clothes that look effortless, the confident stride that suggests belonging, the quiet authority that threatens Rebecca's sense of order. In Rebecca's twisted worldview, success belongs to certain people through birthright and bloodline. Anyone else must have cheated or been given unfair advantages. She's about to act on those toxic beliefs. The stage is set for a confrontation that will destroy one career and elevate another. Neither woman knows it yet, but the next 10 minutes will change everything. The premium boarding announcement echoes through Gate 27 as Victoria Hayes joins the first-class line. Her boarding pass displays seat 2A in crisp black letters, while other passengers shuffle behind her with expensive luggage and designer accessories. Rebecca Sterling positions herself at the aircraft entrance like a sentinel guarding forbidden territory. Her eyes track Victoria's approach with predatory focus, noting every detail that confirms her twisted assumptions. "Good morning," Victoria says politely as she presents her boarding pass. Rebecca's fingers grip the document longer than necessary, studying it with exaggerated scrutiny. Her voice drips false concern as passengers behind Victoria grow restless. "Ma'am, are you absolutely certain you're in the correct boarding group? This line is exclusively for legitimate first-class passengers." The word legitimate hangs in the air like poison. Victoria's eyebrows raise slightly, but her voice remains steady. "Yes, I'm quite sure. Seat 2A. Rebecca's smile turns predatory. She hands back the boarding pass with theatrical reluctance, ensuring nearby passengers witness her disapproval. Her voice carries across the boarding area. Sometimes people get confused about their actual ticket class. It happens more often than you'd think with certain types of passengers. Victoria's jaw tightens imperceptibly, but she maintains her composure. Behind her, other first-class passengers exchange uncomfortable glances at Rebecca's obvious implications. Victoria steps into the aircraft's narrow entrance where overhead bins stretch above premium leather seats. The cabin smells of fresh flowers and expensive cleaning products, a stark contrast to the tension now filling the space. She lifts her black leather suitcase toward the first-class overhead compartment with practiced ease. The bag represents months of travel to aerospace facilities across 3 continents, filled with prototypes that will revolutionize aircraft safety. Rebecca appears beside her like a striking snake, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Excuse me, but that absolutely doesn't belong here." Victoria pauses, suitcase halfway to the bin. "I'm sorry?" These overhead compartments are reserved for legitimate first-class passengers who actually paid full price for their tickets. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable storing your belongings in the rear of the aircraft where your kind typically sits. The racist insult lands like a physical blow. Other passengers stop their boarding routine, sensing drama about to unfold. Victoria's grip tightens on her suitcase handle as whispers ripple through the cabin. "This is my assigned seat, 2A. I have every right to use this storage space." Rebecca's voice rises loud enough for the entire first-class cabin to hear, each word dripping with contempt. "Ma'am, I don't know whose credit card you stole to buy that ticket, but I'm responsible for maintaining order and security on this aircraft. Some people simply don't understand that money can't buy class or breeding." Victoria's boarding pass trembles slightly in her free hand, but her voice remains controlled despite the escalating humiliation. "I'd like to speak with your supervisor immediately." "I am the senior flight attendant on this aircraft," Rebecca snarls, stepping closer until Victoria can smell her cheap perfume mixed with hatred. And I'm telling you that neither you nor your ghetto luggage belongs in first class with decent people. James Thompson, a white investment banker in seat 1B, looks up from his Wall Street Journal with growing alarm. "Excuse me, but this seems completely inappropriate." Rebecca whirls on him with fury, her mask of professionalism completely shattered. "Sir, I'm handling a security situation involving a suspicious passenger. This woman clearly used fraudulent means to obtain her ticket and is now refusing to cooperate with standard verification procedures." "She showed you her boarding pass," Thompson shoots back, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to corporate boardrooms. "What more verification do you need?" Rebecca's response reveals the full depth of her poisonous worldview. "A boarding pass anyone can fake these days. Look at her. Does she really look like someone who can afford $1,800 for a first-class ticket? Please. We both know she's either using welfare money meant for food, or she lifted someone's credit card." The racist implications hang naked in the recycled air. Sarah Lane, the junior flight attendant, watches from the galley with growing horror. Her training manual never prepared her for witnessing such blatant discrimination from a colleague. Without warning, Rebecca's polished shoe connects with Victoria's suitcase in a vicious kick that echoes through the cabin like a gunshot. The expensive leather crashes to the narrow aisle floor with tremendous force, spilling open to reveal business documents, electronic prototypes, and personal items scattered across the aircraft carpet. Gasps echo through the cabin like a wave. A businessman in seat 1C drops his newspaper entirely. The elderly woman in 3A covers her mouth in shock while reaching for her phone. Multiple devices appear in passenger hands like magic, their cameras already recording what's clearly becoming a viral moment. "Maybe next time you'll remember your place and stay in the back where you belong," Rebecca hisses, loud enough for everyone to hear while standing over the scattered belongings like a conquering general. Victoria stares at her scattered belongings in stunned silence. Years of corporate negotiations have prepared her for hostile takeovers and boardroom battles, but not this level of public humiliation and racial hatred. She kneels gracefully to collect her things, maintaining dignity while passengers watch in absolute horror. Her hands shake slightly as she gathers sensitive aerospace documents from the aircraft floor, each piece representing millions in research and development. The cabin falls silent except for the rustling of papers and the soft clicks of phone cameras capturing every moment. Victoria's expensive blazer wrinkles as she crouches, but her movements remain measured and professional despite the degrading circumstances. "This is absolutely unacceptable behavior," declares Thompson, his voice carrying across the cabin. "I've flown first class for 15 years and never witnessed such unprofessional, racist treatment of any passenger." Rebecca's face contorts with rage as she realizes her actions are being questioned by someone she considers her social equal. "Sir, I'm simply following established company protocols for suspicious passengers and potential security threats. This woman's behavior and attitude clearly indicate she doesn't belong in this cabin with respectable travelers." "What suspicious behavior?" demands the elderly woman in 3A, her voice sharp with indignation. "She's been nothing but polite while you've been absolutely horrible." Rebecca's answer strips away any pretense of professional conduct. "Her entire presence here is suspicious. The expensive clothes that don't match her obvious background. The entitled attitude like she has some right to be here. The way she carries herself like she actually belongs among successful people. I've been doing this job for 8 years and I can spot these diversity cases and affirmative action hires from across the terminal." More phones emerge from passenger seats throughout the cabin. The hashtag #FirstClass while black and female won't trend for another hour, but it's already being born in this crystallized moment of institutional racism and misogyny. Victoria rises slowly, her scattered belongings finally gathered and clutched against her chest. Every eye in first class focuses on her response, waiting to see how she'll handle this unprecedented attack on her dignity and humanity. "I purchased this ticket with my own money from my own bank account," she says quietly, her voice carrying the controlled authority of someone accustomed to addressing hostile audiences. "I have every legal and moral right to be here." Rebecca laughs harshly, the sound grating against the cabin's refined atmosphere. "Your own money? Please, we both know how people like you really afford luxury items. Government assistance programs, diversity scholarship funds, maybe identity theft. I've seen every scam in the book during my career. Sarah Lane grips the galley counter until her knuckles turn white, torn between her conscience and her desperate need to keep this job. She knows she should intervene, but fear of Rebecca's retaliation and her own precarious employment status keep her frozen in place. Ma'am, I'm ordering you to move to economy class where you belong, or I'll have airport security physically remove you from this aircraft. Rebecca continues, her voice growing stronger and more authoritative with each inflammatory word. This flight serves important business travelers who pay premium prices for premium service and exclusive environments, not charity cases looking for handouts or trying to live above their station. Victoria's composed facade finally cracks slightly, not with anger, but with profound sadness that this level of hatred still exists in 2024. Her voice remains steady despite the escalating humiliation. I'm not moving anywhere. I paid for this seat legally and I intend to occupy it. Rebecca's face flushes crimson with rage. She reaches for the aircraft phone with theatrical urgency, ensuring every passenger witnesses her authority being exercised. Security to gate 27 immediately. Code yellow. We have a highly disruptive passenger refusing to comply with direct crew instructions. Possible credit card fraud involving unauthorized first-class ticket purchase. Request immediate law enforcement assistance for potential identity theft and threatening behavior. The fabricated emergency spreads through the cabin like wildfire. Passengers exchange shocked glances while continuing to document everything with their phones. The elderly woman in 3A shakes her head in disgust while typing furiously on her device. Captain Martinez's voice crackles through the intercom, professional but strained. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing an operational delay while our crew addresses a passenger service issue. We appreciate your patience and will update you shortly. Heavy footsteps echo from the jet bridge as two airport security officers approach the aircraft entrance. Officer Rodriguez, a seasoned professional with 20 years of experience, enters first with his partner, Officer Williams, close behind. Their radios crackle with constant chatter as they assess the tense situation. What seems to be the problem here? Rodriguez asks, his trained eyes immediately assessing the tension-filled cabin atmosphere. Rebecca launches into a rehearsed narrative with practiced victimization, her voice trembling with false emotion. Officers, this passenger has been extremely aggressive and non-compliant since boarding. She's using what appears to be a fraudulent first-class ticket and became physically violent when I attempted to verify her documentation according to standard security protocols mandated by federal aviation regulations. Rodriguez looks at Victoria, who sits quietly in seat 2A with her belongings neatly arranged beside her. Her calm demeanor contrasts sharply with Rebecca's agitated state and wild accusations. Ma'am, may I see your identification and boarding documents, please? Victoria produces her driver's license and boarding pass without hesitation. Her movements are measured and cooperative, clearly familiar with professional interactions and law enforcement procedures. Victoria Hayes, seat 2A, Rodriguez reads aloud, examining the documents carefully. Everything appears to be in perfect order here. Rebecca interrupts desperately, sensing her carefully constructed narrative beginning to crumble around her. Sir, appearances can be extremely deceiving in cases like this. I've observed multiple suspicious behavior patterns completely consistent with identity theft, credit card fraud, and aggressive criminal activity. The expensive clothing that doesn't match her obvious socio-economic background, the entitled attitude when confronted with legitimate questions, the absolute refusal to accept appropriate seating arrangements. These are classic textbook indicators of sophisticated criminal activity and potential terrorist threats. Officer Williams examines Victoria's documents more closely, his expression growing increasingly skeptical of Rebecca's increasingly wild claims. Ma'am, these documents appear completely legitimate and properly issued. What specific suspicious behavior did you personally observe that would indicate criminal activity? Her entire presence here is inherently suspicious, Rebecca insists, her voice rising to near hysteria as she realizes her authority is being questioned. Look at her carefully. Does she really look like someone who legitimately belongs in first-class accommodations? The way she talks, the way she carries herself, the expensive accessories, it's all an elaborate performance. These people always try to scam their way into luxury situations far above their natural station in life. James Thompson stands up from his seat, his corporate authority radiating through his expensive suit and commanding presence. Officers, I've personally witnessed this entire disgraceful incident from beginning to end. This flight attendant has been systematically racially harassing this innocent passenger from the very moment she boarded this aircraft. The woman has done absolutely nothing wrong except exist while black. Sir, please remain seated and uninvolved, Rebecca snaps at Thompson with increasing desperation. This situation absolutely doesn't concern uninformed passengers. Blatant racism and systematic discrimination concern every decent human being. Thompson fires back with righteous anger. Your behavior has been absolutely disgusting and completely unprofessional. Multiple passengers begin speaking simultaneously, creating a growing chorus of support for Victoria and condemnation of Rebecca's actions. The woman in 3A waves her phone triumphantly. I've recorded absolutely everything on video. This attendant deliberately kicked her expensive luggage and repeatedly called her ghetto, trash, and welfare queen. A businessman in seat 1C adds his testimony. I heard her suggest that the passenger stole someone's credit card. Pure racial profiling with no evidence whatsoever. Sarah Lane finally finds her courage, stepping forward from the galley area where she's been frozen with indecision. Her voice trembles, but carries growing conviction. Officers, I personally witnessed the entire ugly incident. Miss Sterling deliberately kicked the passenger's luggage and made several completely inappropriate comments about her race, economic status, and supposed criminal behavior. Rebecca whirls on her colleague with absolute fury, realizing her support system is crumbling. Sarah, you're completely mistaken about what happened. You weren't even paying proper attention to the situation. I was standing right here the entire time, Sarah responds with newfound firmness. I heard every single racist word you said. Rodriguez requests to review the cell phone footage from multiple passengers. The videos clearly show Rebecca's aggressive behavior, the deliberate suitcase kick, and her escalating verbal abuse. Her racist comments echo clearly through the audio recordings. Ma'am, Rodriguez addresses Rebecca with growing authority. Based on extensive witness testimony and clear video evidence, it appears you've engaged in systematic discriminatory behavior toward this passenger. Rebecca's desperation reaches new heights as she realizes her authority and credibility are completely evaporating. Officers, you don't understand the full complexity of this situation. This woman has been subtly intimidating and threatening me since she arrived at the gate. She made explicit verbal threats about expensive lawsuits and corporate retaliation when I tried to verify her ticket legitimacy through standard procedures. That's completely and utterly false. Victoria speaks directly to security for the first time, her voice remaining calm and utterly professional. I simply requested to speak with a supervisor when she began harassing me about my race. Officer Williams reviews his detailed notes carefully. Miss Sterling, multiple credible witnesses completely contradict your version of events. The passenger appears fully cooperative, and her documentation is entirely valid. Rebecca plays her final desperate card with increasing venomous intensity. Officers, I have 8 years of exemplary service with this airline company. I've never had any formal complaints or disciplinary incidents. This woman is clearly running some kind of elaborate criminal scam, probably involving stolen identity documents, fraudulent credit cards, and organized crime networks. People like her are constantly trying to live far beyond their legitimate means through sophisticated illegal activities. The racist implications hang naked in the recycled cabin air. Rodriguez's expression hardens visibly as he recognizes the blatantly discriminatory language and unfounded accusations. Ma'am, your comments appear to be based entirely on racial assumptions rather than any legitimate security concerns or observable evidence. Victoria's phone buzzes insistently with multiple incoming calls. The screen repeatedly displays Hayes Aerospace, board meeting, and Delta Airlines emergency, but she professionally silences each call to avoid escalating the already volatile situation further. Rebecca notices the intense phone activity and seizes on it with renewed desperation. See that suspicious behavior? She's probably coordinating with criminal accomplices right now. Drug dealers, identity thieves, and professional scammers always work in sophisticated, organized networks. I absolutely guarantee that if you thoroughly search her belongings, you'll find concrete evidence of extensive illegal activity. That's more than enough unfounded accusations, Rodriguez states with firm authority. You're making serious criminal allegations without providing any supporting evidence whatsoever. Captain Martinez appears in the cabin doorway, his pilot's uniform commanding immediate respect from everyone present. His expression shows barely controlled professional anger as he surveys the complete chaos disrupting his aircraft. What's the current status here, officers? Captain, we have a clear-cut discrimination complaint against your flight attendant, Rodriguez explains professionally. Multiple credible witnesses and extensive video evidence strongly support the passenger's version of events. Martinez's jaw tightens visibly as he looks directly at Rebecca with disappointment and anger. Miss Sterling, please step off this aircraft immediately. You're suspended from all duties pending a comprehensive investigation. Rebecca's carefully constructed world begins collapsing catastrophically around her. Captain, you absolutely cannot believe these people over a loyal employee with years of dedicated service. I was protecting the airline's reputation and first-class integrity according to company standards. Victoria's phone erupts with an urgent ringtone that cuts through the cabin tension like a blade. The caller ID flashes across her screen in bold letters. Delta Airlines Board of Directors. She glances at Captain Martinez apologetically. I'm sorry, but I really need to take this call. It's regarding today's board meeting. Martinez nods while Rebecca watches with growing confusion. Victoria answers with her characteristic professional composure. Good morning, Richard. Yes, I'm actually on the aircraft now, but we're experiencing some delays. Her voice carries the natural authority of someone accustomed to addressing corporate executives. Passengers lean forward slightly, sensing something significant unfolding. The merger announcement is still scheduled for 2 o'clock Pacific time. Hayes Aerospace has everything prepared for the partnership reveal. Captain Martinez freezes mid-conversation with security officers. The name Hayes Aerospace triggers immediate recognition in his aviation-trained mind. His eyes widen as pieces begin connecting. No changes to the $500 million contract structure. We'll proceed as planned once I reach Seattle. Rebecca's face contorts with confusion as she processes Victoria's words. $500 million? Contract structure? Her racist assumptions begin cracking against this unexpected reality. Martinez pulls out his phone with trembling fingers, quickly searching Victoria Hayes Aerospace. The results appear instantly, causing his face to drain of all color. Forbes magazine, Victoria Hayes named CEO of the Year for Revolutionary Aircraft Safety Innovation. Business Weekly, Hayes Aerospace signs historic $500 million partnership with major airlines. Aviation Today, Victoria Hayes, the visionary leader transforming flight safety standards. The search results paint a picture that shatters Rebecca's entire worldview. Photo after photo shows Victoria in boardrooms accepting industry awards, shaking hands with government officials and airline executives. Richard, please assure the board that today's announcement will position Delta as the industry leader in next-generation safety technology, Victoria continues, oblivious to the growing recognition around her. Martinez approaches Victoria's seat with newfound respect and barely concealed panic. His pilot training never prepared him for discovering he's been witnessing the harassment of one of the aviation industry's most powerful figures. Miss Hayes, he interrupts gently. I need to speak with you immediately. Victoria pauses her conversation. Richard, let me call you back in 5 minutes. We're resolving the delay situation now. She hangs up and looks at Martinez with polite inquiry. Yes, Captain? Ma'am, I owe you a profound apology. I had no idea who you were when this situation began. Rebecca steps closer, desperately trying to understand the sudden shift in dynamics. Captain, what's happening here? Martinez turns to her with barely controlled fury. Miss Sterling, do you have any idea who you just assaulted? I don't know what you mean, Rebecca stammers, though her confidence is visibly cracking. This is Victoria Hayes, CEO of Hayes Aerospace Solutions, the company that supplies critical safety components for our entire fleet. The words hit Rebecca like physical blows. Her phone appears in her shaking hands as she frantically searches Victoria's name. The Google results load slowly, each headline demolishing another piece of her racist assumptions. Aerospace CEO Victoria Hayes revolutionizes industry safety standards. Hayes Industries, the $2.30 billion empire built on innovation. Victoria Hayes joins Delta Airlines Advisory Board for Diversity and Excellence. Rebecca's face cycles through confusion, disbelief, and growing horror as she realizes the magnitude of her mistake. This isn't some welfare queen or diversity hire. This is one of the most powerful women in aviation. But she can't be, Rebecca whispers, her worldview crumbling in real time. James Thompson stands up with a knowing smile. I thought I recognized you from the Business Weekly cover story. Your interview about breaking barriers in aerospace was inspiring. Other passengers begin murmuring with recognition. Phones appear again, but now they're documenting the revelation rather than the discrimination. Wait, Sarah Lane gasps from the galley. You're the Victoria Hayes who spoke at my aviation management graduation last year. You talked about perseverance and excellence. Victoria nods graciously while her phone continues buzzing with urgent calls from corporate executives, government officials, and media representatives. Captain Martinez's radio crackles with an emergency message from airline headquarters. Flight 1847, this is Operations Control. We're receiving reports about an incident involving Victoria Hayes. Please confirm passenger status immediately. The captain keys his radio with visible anxiety. Operations passenger Victoria Hayes is confirmed aboard and unharmed. However, we have a significant crew disciplinary situation requiring immediate corporate attention. Rebecca's hands tremble as she continues scrolling through search results. Photos show Victoria meeting with presidents, accepting humanitarian awards, delivering keynote speeches at international conferences. This can't be real, she mutters, her voice barely audible. Miss Sterling, Martinez addresses her with ice-cold professionalism. You just racially harassed and physically assaulted one of our most important business partners, someone whose company holds contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars with this airline. Victoria's phone rings again, this time displaying Delta CEO, urgent. She looks at Martinez apologetically. Captain, this is probably your CEO calling about our partnership announcement. Should I take it? Martinez nods numbly, realizing his airline's reputation hangs in the balance of this conversation. Victoria answers with her characteristic grace. Hello, Michael. Yes, I'm on one of your aircraft experiencing some interesting customer service challenges. Rebecca sinks into an empty seat, her career and worldview simultaneously collapsing around her. 8 years of employment evaporated because she couldn't see past her own prejudices. The woman she tried to humiliate as a welfare queen controls technology that keeps airplanes safely in the sky. The racist assumptions that seemed so certain 3 minutes ago now appear as ignorant delusions that have destroyed her future. Victoria continues her conversation with the airline CEO while Rebecca stares at her phone screen, finally understanding the magnitude of her catastrophic mistake. Rebecca's world continues collapsing as Victoria's phone conversation with the airline CEO becomes audible throughout the first-class cabin. Her voice remains professionally cordial despite the circumstances. Michael, I understand your concern about the partnership announcement, but I think we need to address some systemic issues within your customer service training first. The CEO's panicked voice leaks through the phone speaker. Miss Hayes, please tell me our crew didn't actually assault you. The video footage is already going viral across social media platforms. Victoria glances at Rebecca, who sits frozen in an empty seat with her face buried in trembling hands. I'm afraid the situation was quite serious, Michael. Your employee made multiple racist comments and physically kicked my luggage while making assumptions about my economic status and right to fly first class. Captain Martinez approaches Rebecca with grim authority. Miss Sterling, remove your wings and surrender your employee identification immediately. You're terminated effectively at this moment. Rebecca's head snaps up, tears streaming down her face as reality crashes over her. Captain, please, I made a mistake. I didn't know who she was. That's exactly the problem, Martinez responds coldly. A passenger's identity shouldn't matter for basic human dignity and professional service. Victoria addresses the CEO while watching Rebecca's breakdown with a mixture of sadness and resolve. Michael, the concerning part isn't that your employee didn't recognize me. It's that she felt comfortable treating any passenger this way based purely on racial assumptions. Rebecca desperately fumbles with her uniform, removing her wings pin with shaking fingers. 8 years of airline service ending in the most humiliating circumstances possible. Her hands shake so violently she drops the pin twice before successfully handing it to Martinez. Officer Rodriguez approaches with his incident report tablet. Miss Hayes, we'll need your statement for our official documentation. Multiple passengers have provided video evidence supporting your account. Of course, officer, I want to ensure this incident is properly documented to prevent future occurrences. Rebecca's voice cracks as she makes one final desperate plea. Miss Hayes, I'm so sorry. I had no idea who you were. Please, I have children to support. This job is everything to me. Victoria turns to face Rebecca directly, her expression showing disappointment rather than anger. Miss Sterling, the issue isn't that you didn't know who I was. The issue is that you treated a fellow human being with such cruelty based on nothing but racial prejudice. But I'm not racist, Rebecca protests weakly. I made assumptions. I was having a bad day. Racism isn't just burning crosses and using slurs, Victoria responds with quiet authority. It's assuming a black woman in first class must have stolen her ticket. It's kicking someone's luggage because you don't think they belong in your space. Sarah Lane approaches with Rebecca's personal belongings from the crew area. Her voice carries newfound strength after witnessing this transformative moment. Rebecca, I've watched you treat passengers of color differently for months. Today, you finally went too far. Captain Martinez's radio crackles with another urgent message from airline operations. Flight 1847 Corporate Security is en route to escort the terminated employee. Please prepare for immediate departure once the situation is resolved. Victoria's phone rings again, this time showing Hayes Aerospace, Legal Department. She glances at the caller ID with slight concern. Excuse me, this is probably about the merger announcement, but they might be calling about potential legal action regarding this incident. Rebecca's face goes white as she realizes the legal implications of assaulting a major corporate CEO. Legal action, please, Miss Hayes. I'll do anything to make this right. Victoria answers her legal team's call while maintaining eye contact with Rebecca. Jennifer, yes, I'm aware the incident is trending on social media. Have we considered our response strategy? James Thompson leans forward from his seat. Miss Hayes, I'd be happy to provide witness testimony if you pursue legal action. What happened here was absolutely unacceptable. Multiple passengers nod in agreement, their phones still recording the aftermath of Rebecca's career destruction. Victoria concludes her legal call and addresses Rebecca one final time. Miss Sterling, I hope you use this experience to examine your unconscious biases and grow as a person. Everyone deserves basic dignity regardless of their race or perceived economic status. Corporate security officers board the aircraft, their professional demeanor contrasting sharply with Rebecca's emotional breakdown. She gathers her belongings while passengers watch in silence. Miss Sterling, please come with us, the lead security officer requests. Human Resources needs to conduct an exit interview immediately. Rebecca walks past Victoria's seat one final time, her voice barely a whisper. I'm truly sorry for what I did to you. Victoria nods graciously. I accept your apology, but the real work happens when you examine why you made those assumptions in the first place. As Rebecca is escorted off the aircraft, spontaneous applause erupts throughout the first-class cabin. Victoria raises her hand gently to quiet the celebration. Thank you, but this isn't about celebrating someone's downfall. It's about creating accountability for discriminatory behavior. Captain Martinez announces over the intercom, Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. We'll be departing momentarily with our new lead flight attendant, Sarah Lane. The aircraft door closes with finality, sealing Rebecca's fate while opening new possibilities for systemic change within the airline industry. 3 hours after takeoff, Victoria's phone buzzes with urgent notifications as the airline's corporate crisis unfolds in real time. The hashtag #FirstClass, while black and female, has exploded across social media platforms, generating millions of views and thousands of comments demanding accountability. Miss Hayes, Captain Martinez announces over the intercom, we have the airline CEO on priority communication requesting to speak with you directly. Victoria accepts the call while passengers listen intently. The CEO's voice carries barely controlled panic as he addresses the expanding public relations disaster. Victoria, I've just finished watching the video footage. Rebecca Sterling has been terminated immediately, but we need to discuss comprehensive remedial measures. The board is demanding emergency action. Michael, termination is just the beginning. We need systemic reform to address the cultural issues that allowed this incident to occur. Within hours of landing in Seattle, major news networks pick up the story. CNN's breaking news banner reads, "Aerospace CEO racially profiled on airline, employee fired." Fox News runs continuous coverage with the headline, "Viral video shows shocking airline discrimination." Victoria's legal team, led by civil rights attorney Jennifer Morrison, files a federal discrimination lawsuit within 48 hours. The complaint outlines not just Rebecca's actions, but a pattern of discriminatory behavior enabled by inadequate corporate oversight. "This case represents something larger than one incident," Morrison explained to gathered reporters. "We're challenging systemic discrimination that affects countless travelers who don't have Ms. Hayes' platform or resources." The airline's Human Resources Department launches an immediate investigation into Rebecca's employment history. Corporate investigator David Brooks reviews 8 years of personnel files, uncovering a disturbing pattern previously overlooked. 17 formal complaints from passengers of color describing rude service and discriminatory treatment. Multiple diversity training sessions marked as reluctantly attended, with minimal participation scores. Social media posts from Rebecca's personal accounts revealing racist beliefs she thought were private. "How did we miss this pattern?" CEO Michael Thompson asks during an emergency board meeting. "We have clear evidence of ongoing discrimination spanning multiple years." The investigation expands to include Rebecca's immediate supervisors and the crew scheduling department. Internal emails reveal concerning communications about passenger assignments and crew preferences for certain routes with specific passenger demographics. Sarah Lane, now promoted to senior flight attendant, provides testimony about Rebecca's behavior during their shared flights. She consistently provided inferior service to passengers of color. "I witnessed multiple microaggressions that I should have reported." Corporate Diversity Officer Dr. Patricia Williams reviews the airline's training programs with growing alarm. "Our current diversity education is clearly inadequate. Employees like Rebecca completed required sessions while retaining deeply problematic attitudes." Local news stations in Dallas investigate Rebecca's background, discovering her involvement with several online groups promoting racial superiority ideologies. Screenshots of her social media activity reveal years of racist commentary disguised as political opinion. These posts show a pattern of racial animus that should have been detected during employee monitoring, explains legal analyst Robert Martinez on national television. The viral video reaches international audiences, sparking conversations about discrimination in commercial aviation across multiple countries. European airlines begin reviewing their own diversity policies in response to the global attention. Victoria uses her platform to address broader issues during a press conference at Hayes Aerospace headquarters. This incident highlights experiences that countless travelers face without cameras recording or corporate power to demand accountability. The airline's stock price drops 12% in 3 trading days as investors worry about potential boycotts and legal liability. Social media campaigns calling for passenger boycotts gain momentum among civil rights organizations. Rebecca's employment prospects evaporate as the story spreads through aviation industry networks. Airport personnel managers quietly blacklist her from future hiring consideration. Her professional reputation becomes permanently damaged. "No airline will touch her now," explains aviation industry recruiter Lisa Thompson. This level of public discrimination creates liability concerns that employers won't risk. The Federal Aviation Administration launches its own investigation into the airline's compliance with anti-discrimination regulations. Government investigators review passenger complaint patterns and employee training protocols. Victoria's legal team expands their lawsuit to include civil rights violations under federal transportation law. The case attracts support from the NAACP, ACLU, and multiple civil rights organizations offering assistance. "This case will establish important precedents for transportation discrimination," explains NAACP legal counsel Patricia Johnson. "We're committed to ensuring comprehensive accountability." Congressional representatives from the House Transportation Committee announce hearings on discrimination in commercial aviation. Victoria agrees to testify about her experience and broader industry reforms needed. The airline implements immediate policy changes, including mandatory monthly diversity training, anonymous reporting systems for discrimination, and diverse hiring initiatives for management positions. We're completely overhauling our corporate culture, CEO Thompson announces during a televised statement. This incident exposed systematic failures that demand comprehensive solutions. Rebecca attempts damage control through local media interviews, but her explanations only deepen public outrage. "I'm not racist. I just made poor judgments under stress," she tells a sympathetic local reporter. Social media responds with overwhelming rejection of her justifications. The hashtag #accountability, not excuses, trends nationally as users share their own discrimination experiences. Aviation industry publications feature extensive coverage analyzing the incident's implications for customer service training and corporate liability. Professional organizations announce enhanced discrimination prevention initiatives. Victoria establishes the Hayes Foundation for Transportation Equity, funded with her lawsuit settlement money. The foundation will monitor discrimination in travel industries and provide legal support for affected passengers. "We're transforming this negative experience into positive systemic change," Victoria announces at the foundation's launch event. Corporate executives from multiple airlines attend emergency industry conferences addressing discrimination prevention. Victoria speaks as a keynote presenter, sharing recommendations for cultural transformation. The incident becomes a Harvard Business School case study examining corporate crisis management and the intersection of social media, discrimination, and business accountability. Rebecca's personal life crumbles as friends and family distance themselves from the public embarrassment. Her children face harassment at school while she struggles with unemployment and social isolation. 6 months later, the airline reports significant improvements in passenger satisfaction scores among travelers of color. Anonymous reporting systems document increased employee accountability and cultural awareness. Victoria's testimony before Congress leads to proposed federal legislation strengthening anti-discrimination enforcement in transportation industries. The Hayes Act would mandate enhanced training and reporting requirements. One moment of courage in facing down hatred has created ripple effects transforming an entire industry, Victoria reflects during her congressional testimony. Rebecca eventually finds employment at a fast food restaurant, her aviation career permanently destroyed. The viral video continues circulating as a cautionary tale about the consequences of workplace discrimination. The lawsuit settlement, rumored to exceed $2 million, establishes legal precedents making airlines more liable for employee discrimination. Corporate policies nationwide evolve to prevent similar incidents. Victoria's experience transforms from personal trauma into industry-wide reform, proving that individual acts of courage can create systematic change when supported by legal accountability and public attention. 1 year later, Victoria Hayes stands before a packed auditorium at the National Civil Rights Conference, her voice carrying the quiet strength that transformed a moment of humiliation into industry-wide change. "That day on Flight 1847, I had a choice. I could have quietly endured the discrimination, grateful for my privilege and platform. Instead, I chose to stand up not just for myself, but for every person of color who faces similar treatment without cameras recording or corporate power to demand justice." The Hayes Foundation for Transportation Equity has processed over 300 discrimination complaints in its first year, providing legal support and advocacy for travelers who previously had no recourse. Their anonymous reporting app has documented patterns of bias across multiple transportation companies. "We've learned that my experience wasn't unique. It was simply the most visible example of systematic discrimination affecting millions of travelers annually." The airline industry has implemented unprecedented reforms following Victoria's case. Mandatory quarterly bias training now includes real-world scenarios based on documented incidents. Anonymous reporting systems have uncovered and addressed hundreds of discriminatory practices previously ignored. Change happened because ordinary people refused to stay silent when they witnessed injustice. The passengers who recorded that incident, the colleagues who spoke the truth, the security officers who investigated fairly, they all chose courage over comfort. Victoria's merger announcement, delayed by 1 day due to the discrimination incident, ultimately strengthened Hayes Aerospace's position in the market. The company's commitment to diversity and inclusion attracted new partnerships worth over $1 billion in additional contracts. Sometimes our greatest challenges become our most powerful opportunities for growth and positive impact. Sarah Lane, now the airline's youngest senior flight attendant, credits Victoria's example with inspiring her own leadership development. Watching Miss Hayes maintain her dignity while facing such hatred taught me that true strength comes from standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. The airline reports a 43% improvement in customer satisfaction scores among travelers of color. Employee diversity has increased significantly, with particular growth in leadership positions previously dominated by single demographics. Rebecca Sterling's story serves as a cautionary tale circulated through aviation industry training programs. Her social media posts, preserved as evidence, demonstrate how personal biases can destroy professional careers when translated into discriminatory actions. I don't celebrate anyone's downfall, but I do believe in accountability. Rebecca's consequences remind us that our actions have impact beyond ourselves. The viral video continues generating educational discussions in corporate training sessions worldwide. Business schools analyze the incident as a case study in crisis management, social media accountability, and the intersection of personal prejudice with professional responsibility. Technology has made discrimination harder to hide, but it's also created opportunities for positive change when people choose to document and share injustice. Congressional hearings inspired by Victoria's testimony led to the Transportation Equity Act, requiring enhanced anti-discrimination training and enforcement across all federally regulated transportation industries. The legislation passed with bipartisan support. Policy change happens when individual stories illuminate systematic problems. My experience became everyone's opportunity to demand better. Victoria's keynote speeches at universities focus on transforming adversity into advocacy. Students consistently ask how she maintained composure during such public humiliation. Dignity isn't about never feeling hurt or angry. It's about choosing your response carefully, knowing that your actions in difficult moments define your character and influence others. The Hayes Foundation's scholarship program has awarded full college tuition to 50 students from underrepresented communities pursuing careers in aviation and aerospace engineering. Recipients commit to continuing the cycle of positive change through their future leadership. Every young person who enters these industries with values of equality and inclusion represents progress toward the world we want to create. International aviation organizations have adopted similar reforms following global attention to Victoria's case. The incident sparked conversations about discrimination in transportation systems across multiple countries and cultures. Justice isn't just an American value, it's a human value that transcends borders and brings people together around shared principles. Victoria's reflection on that transformative day remains grounded in hope rather than bitterness. I learned that one person's hatred, when met with community support and institutional accountability, can become the catalyst for widespread positive change. Today, she travels frequently for business, often recognizing flight attendants who approach her with gratitude for inspiring industry reforms. Miss Hayes, thank you for making our workplace better for everyone. That day, I thought I was just trying to get to a board meeting. I had no idea I was helping to reshape an entire industry's approach to equality and justice. As Victoria concludes her speech, the audience rises in sustained applause. Her story continues inspiring individuals to transform personal challenges into community progress. Share this story if you believe everyone deserves dignity regardless of their race, gender, or economic status. Follow our foundation's work as we continue fighting discrimination in all its forms. Comment below about times you've witnessed or experienced similar treatment. The final message appears on screen as Victoria's image fades. In a world where you can be anything, choose to be someone who stands up for justice. What would you have done if you witnessed this discrimination? How will you use your voice and privilege to protect others? Will you be a bystander or an advocate when injustice happens around you? Remember, respect costs nothing, but its absence costs everything. Together, we can create a world where everyone belongs everywhere they go.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.